Hello, everybody. I am back once again, and today I have the utmost pleasure of being joined by Christo Brock. He is a filmmaker who has a documentary that is right up my alley. It is called Brewmance. How are you doing today?
I am fine. Happy to talk beer.
Oh,
And,
at any time. That
and
is right up my alley. Tell us a little bit about the documentary.
well, so the film follows a couple um, local breweries in my hometown of Long Beach, California, as they make the passage from home brewer to craft brewer. And along the way, we weave in the story of craft beer, the big story of craft beer, as told through a lot of the experts and the people who started the whole movement. And yes, which is interesting because the idea is that craft beer is a an American story, and because it embodies a lot of the qualities that make us unique, like diversity and out of the box thinking and anti-authoritarianism and um, perseverance, finding solutions, and just being stubborn, and making it happen.
I think it's a very amazing story because of the fact that a lot of times I think these type of ideas are generated from being around a group of friends with a good beer, and then you want to make it your own. You want to be part of that, and I think you guys developed that. You developed that very well in the film, and through the process we get to see that. Can you talk about your inspiration in wanting to tell this story?
Yeah, so I have a buddy Tom who was a home brewer, and he started telling me about his home brewing. Um, so sorry,
No problem.
um, and he told me about his homebrew club that he took me to, and it was awesome. There were like people sharing beer and people sharing stories, um, and then telling people how they made their beer. And one person at his homebrew club um, was about ready to start his own brewery. And it turns out it's Jonathan Porter of Smog City, who's briefly in the film. And I just thought, like, oh wow, you know what? This could be an awesome movie if I can find a couple of homebrewers in my hometown and I can follow them through the process. And and then as that went on, I just thought, like, oh wait a second, these guys are doing the same thing that those early pioneers
Mhm.
did. It was a lot harder back then. So let's check that out and do our research and then it's kind of so I read a bunch of books and talked to a lot of different people and I was like, oh wow, this is kind of a really interesting American story.
I
That's
love
what I
your
tried to.
hat, by the way.
Oh yeah, thanks. That's the beer love right there. The
Yeah,
Brewman.
that's a great logo. I love that. So in talking with a lot of these brewmasters who have done it for decades now, and
Yeah.
talking to the ones that are getting started, what similarities did you find in their conversations?
Well, they all have passion. Like, because basically, you're not going to get anywhere if you're just trying to make money. Like, it it seems like if your intent is to just make money, you will fail because your beer will suck. Basically, you have to really want to make awesome tasting beer that people want to drink, and that there's a certain kind of sincerity that comes through. I think when you do that, and that's kind of the story of craft beer. Is like it wasn't produced by these scientists in a lab trying to figure out what the most amount of people will agree to drink. That's like big beer does that very well. But craft beer is like, no, screw that. I'm going to make this beer that only maybe 10 people want to drink. And I'm going to make it and I'm going to put it on the taps. And, you know, there it is. It's that there's more of that. And that's also like the freedom. You have more freedom when you're smaller and more independent.
Hmm.
If you have to answer to shareholders or a board of directors, they're like, well, why did you spend your time making the beer that nobody wants to drink? And that's not a good business choice. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm kind of rambling on this, but I think that's kind of at the soul of craft beer. It's like it's about people. It's about like creators.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, that's the guy who made the beer. It's his. I'm drinking his, his stuff or her stuff. You know.
Yeah, there's a real art to it, obviously, and when you make your own product, you're going to be very, very proud of it. Uh, so I want to ask you, what was your biggest takeaway from going through this journey with these gentlemen, going from homebrew to starting 10 Mile Brewing or Liberation Brewing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, well, I mean, I really enjoyed making the film with everybody in it. I mean, that was actually one of the one of the allures to making film about craft beer is that I kind of had this idea that people would be kind of cool and interesting and like basically people you want to have beers with, literally. And well, I think these both sets of homebrewers in the movie are like just down to earth, hardworking folks who like really care about the world around them. And that's also, I don't think it's a mistake that or an accident that they're homebrewers. I mean,
Mhm.
craft brewers now, because I think that the world of craft brewing is probably full of a lot of people like this, which again made making a film about craft beer that much more fun.
How much tastings did you do throughout the process?
We had a few tastings. Yeah. I had this awesome crew that we traveled around the country and did interviews with. We were just like this rolling band of jolly filmmakers, rolling in from to one brewery and another, and going to Great American Beer Festival. And boy, we drank a lot of beers, a lot of great beers.
So one thing that stood out to me about the film was the importance of family to these gentlemen. And I know it's something that's highlighted from your perspective. How important was their family to their success?
Well, for I think we're actually everybody involved really important. I mean, the Sunstroms, the 10 Mile Brewing, um, they sort of in particular do everything as a family. I mean, they have weekly dinners where they get together and they
Mm-hmm.
would talk about what was going on and what they wanted to do with the brewery. I mean, it really was like this sort of group family decision. And then all the family came and worked together and built the brewery, and most of them still run it. Um, and for Liberation, these guys really are tight with their families, but their situations completely different because there's a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of friends that got together to build a brewery, and they all have their own very different lives. Um, but all these people are like pretty strong, family-oriented people. Um, and like Dan Regan, who was the trombonist in Real Big Fish, when he came off the road and he stopped touring the Real Big Fish, some people thought like, oh, well, you're a rock star. You can just retire in your riches now and open a brewery. Danny was a hardworking musician and he had to go find a job. First he sold cars, and then he found a job with benefits, and then now works for the Cal State system. It's just, hardworking dude who wanted to open up a brewery. Um, yeah, um, lost my train of thought, but yeah, just hardworking, soulful people.
And obviously that again translates to the beer and then makes them successful, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's like they say, every bottle or every pint is a different story.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you go to a little craft brewery, you're drinking someone else's story. And that's kind of cool. You can see like, oh, there's the person who made it. This is the style they made. And you look at the decor, you're like, yeah, probably fits the beer, you know.
I,
Um,
I think for me, what stood out was, just the small batches that they're making. And like you said, it's a different story and you hit it, right, the nail right. Um, and so it's going to be very personal and it's going to be very important to them. So I think makes that drinking experience that much more special.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's like, it's kind of the difference between craft beer and big beer. And big beer does what they do very well. I mean, every can of Budweiser tastes pretty much the same, which is really hard to do. But you don't, there's no connection between the person who made it or, where it was made. It could have been made anywhere. It's made a bunch of different places. But a lot of these craft breweries, like, that beer is from San Diego because it's a West Coast IPA, or that beer is from Dogfish in Delaware because it has these kind of things going on. Or, it becomes very regionalized and very responsive to the people around it who are drinking it.
Yeah. What do you hope people take away from your film?
Without getting too political, man, I think I hope they see that America is really actually not in bad shape. It's like part of it's been that, when I started making the film, there was a lot of talk about like, well, we got to make America great again. And I was like, I don't know, look at craft beer. It's sort of like, it shows how America is pretty great already. And also I kind of hope that part of the impetus of making the film is to sort of share the idea that we can all come together in a common place and like have a beer with someone that you disagree with, but you respect because they're another wonderful human being. And there's this whole idea of the public house in beer where it's like, that's where people go to share a beer and see people they wouldn't normally hang out with because it's like a common ground kind of place. And I kind of hope the film does some of that. And also I hope it makes people want to go out and have a beer.
Yeah. I mean, that happens with me regardless. Going to our local bars and trying out local taps is one of our favorite things to do. So I really enjoyed your film. And I can't let you go without asking, what is your favorite beer currently?
Ooh, that is always a tough question. I mean, I love the beers that the Liberation and the 10 Mile make. I will say this now, I'm trending a little more towards blondes and gozes just because can't handle all those IPAs the way I used to. I like a good sort of bottled condition, something or other every once in a while. But yeah, lightened up a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm stuck on brown ales. My favorite one right now is Downtown Brown by Lost Coast Brewery. That's just easy to go to.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, can I also just tell people that so the film's coming out on the 13th, right?
Yes.
Until the 13th, you can only pre-order it on iTunes, but on the 13th and afterwards, you can get the film wherever you buy or rent your movies. So not Netflix, not Hulu, but you can get it on Fandango or Google Play or Xbox or Vudu, Vimeo. And if you're curious, you can always go to the website, brewmancemovie.com, and you'll be able to, we can steer you wherever you want to go.
Christo?
And you can buy a hat too.
Oh, if you can, I'll be buying a hat. I'd definitely be buying a hat. I didn't know those were for sale. Now it makes me very happy.
Oh, yeah.
Christo, thank you for making my job easier and letting everybody know where we can find the film. Congratulations on the film. I think it was a lot of fun. And I don't have time tonight to go get a beer, but soon, later this week, I will.
Just warning. Nobody should watch Brewmance without a beer in their hand.
Yeah. It's a good accompany.
Yeah.
Christo, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, man. Nice talking.
Take care.